For the playlist इनसे मिलिए in conversation with Ajai Shukla, I move to the next question. This is regarding the ongoing conflict in Gaza. You elaborately brought out about the war in Ukraine. What do you think about the coverage of Gaza situation by the media so far in India?
It's actually quite shocking that the Indian media has completely toed the line of the government of India, which is that Israel is justified in what it is doing in Gaza and will be by extension justified in taking this conflict even further, killing even more people and generally rendering Gaza a complete wasteland. There seems to be very little judgment or comment or offering alternative perspectives into the killing of a large number of innocent civilians. This is not to in any way justify what Gaza had done to the Israelis to start off this conflict, but you now have a situation where it is open season on the residents of Gaza, and if anybody believes that this is the way to bring peace and end a war, they are going to get their opinion modified for sure, because all it is doing is creating a new generation of militants and deep resentment within Gaza.
Coming back to the reporting of the situation, what is the reason that or reason for the absence of balanced and objective reporting? The entire print and electronic media, you mean to say, in India has gone for a particular narrative or a version?
I would not say that the entire media has gone, but I would say that a very high percentage of the Indian media no longer questions a story, provided it has been originates from the highest portals of the Indian government. The Indian government has by now exerted so much pressure on the Indian media that most of the time they believe it's just easiest to succumb and report what the government wants.
Right. Ajay, going back 10 years, you are known to have resigned from DD News on 29th March 2013. What do you think of the matter in retrospect?
I think I was very justified in what I did. I was brought there with a clear mandate to make DD News, the 9 o'clock bulletin, a news channel that everybody would want to see, that everybody would tune into, and that meant independent reporting. But sadly, over a period of time, the government decided that independent reporting was too troublesome to deal with. They first started questioning me, then they then openly requested that I tone down the criticism in my reporting, and then eventually I decided that it was too much trouble trying to justify stories which everybody knew to be true, and I put in my resignation. So I completely stick by that. It was an ethical step designed to make a statement, and that's what I did.
My next question is, Ajay, recently, just a couple of days back, one of the Agni Veers from artillery, perhaps he was an operator, is said to have lost his life due to high altitude complications. Now, in this case, as per the existing policy, prevailing policy, the induction training of recruits is only 24 weeks. Now, this is almost half the tenure that the training was imparted to the recruits earlier, before they came out of the center and were posted to the units. In a way, this can be said that this particular soldier was half trained or was ill trained. and also about his induction, that he was sent to Siachen. It is commonly known that before a soldier goes to Siachen or a unit goes to Siachen, they do multi-layered induction or acclimatization. Surprisingly, now my question to you is that the media, Indian media, has not covered or has not commented on this aspect. What do you think is the reason?
The reason is habit. They are now, the Indian media, especially in their reporting on defense and so on, are now in the habit of taking the cue from the PR people of the Army and Navy and Air Force and sort of reporting what they've been asked to report in the manner that they've been asked to report. This is a classic case of that. The story here is without doubt that the training that is imparted to these Agni Veers is inadequate. I would not use the word that they are untrained, but they are inadequately trained. And anyone who is being posted to the Siachen battlefield knows, and the commanders know, that they are sending him to one of the most difficult terrains in the world. And therefore there should be no question of sending inadequately trained soldiers. But the soldier died, unfortunately. The excuse and the story was shaped by the PR people of the army, and it was duly picked up by the Indian media and reported in the manner that the government wanted.
Moving on, my next question to you, Ajay, is all reporters, I believe, they would aspire, they look for being first with the news and to come up with a scoop. Your reporting about the Galwan, of course, is well known. You broke that story. Tell us something about that, and if there is any other scoops that you had the privilege to get in your career so far.
Well, in earlier days, reporters used to routinely chase scoops, and I was no exception to that. I had done several sort of stories that caused discomfort to the government, which is what a scoop is.
Do some come to your mind straight away?
Well, the government at one stage wanted to put out the story that they are withdrawing troops from Kashmir, and that the number of troops being withdrawn are sort of rendering India's security presence less oppressive. I went to Kashmir and I followed the story in great detail, and I sort of did the numbers as well of how many were going out, how many troops were coming in, and it emerged that they were actually, the story was that the number of soldiers, Indian soldiers, was increasing, not decreasing. So when I did that story, there was sort of a complete hullabaloo in the National Security Council, and I was told that please withdraw that story. NDTV, of course, in those days NDTV was something else.
Did they comply with the request?
No.
Okay.
They did the story through the day.
And something about the Galwan that you would like to, without disclosing your sources. I think it was in national interest to bring this out. And what do you think of it now, a couple of years ahead that we are?
Well, it would be too trite to say that I am glad I was vindicated. I would rather have been proved wrong in this story, because India really comes off looking very poorly in this story, where you have a situation where the Indian Prime Minister is on the same side as the sort of troops that have invaded India, in both of them agreeing that no Indian territory had been lost. Effectively, what he was saying was that the territory which you have walked into was not Indian territory at all, and that is what the Chinese wanted. That's the Chinese position on the story. So it was a messy business, and it was sad that it had to play out in that way.
Thanks. We come to the end of this video, and in the next video we would be talking about some of the personalities, and by that I mean Raksha Mantris or the service chiefs that Ajay has reported in his 2 decades plus journalistic career. Thank you.